So, Jessica, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I am Michelle. We've met before. I work in the development department, and I just want to thank you for taking a few minutes to pull back the curtain a little bit on what you guys do at Something Wild for a lot of our supporters during Earth Week. So, I wonder if you can just start out by telling me a little bit about what goes into the life of a story. I mean, it feels like there must be a lot that has to happen to get 4-minute segments. So could you kind of tell us that life cycle?
Sure. Ideas really come from everywhere. We sometimes Chris and Dave, because they're out in the field and seeing things and observing things. Sometimes it's me because I'm curious about something. I've seen something on Instagram. It's piqued my curiosity. So sometimes it's an email from a listener or question. So ideas come from everywhere, and then kind of one of them writes a script, boil it down, we record it, and then I edit it, add music and sound, and then we, I have to get it ready to be on the air and to be digital on the web page.
So I'm actually really curious about the audio parts of it. I personally love when I'm listening to it, hearing all the wildlife in the background. It's such a very soothing segment that we have on. Sometimes the news can be overwhelming, and I find it relaxing, and I'm really curious how you get those audio segments. Are they things you have like in a library? Are you out like recording the birds?
Sometimes it's hard to record birds because you get a lot of other sounds around it, so I tend to rely on the Cornell All About Birds site online to get bird sound. Also, I want to be sure I'm not a birder, so I want to make sure I have the right bird sound. So I tend to use All About Birds or go online on YouTube and look for sound there. And yeah, we do some recording out in the field, but not as much as I'd like to do.
Okay. Well, it's always fun, not only hearing that, but then hearing the guys doing the bird calls or figuring out, they'll say, this is how you mimic the sound, and I love that part. How long does it take to do all that, to pull together an episode?
Well, let's see.
Typically.
Yeah. We like do a lot of idea thinking and talk about how we're gonna shape the episode and the script, and they generally come up with the scripts because they know the most. Sometimes I do some research as well, and then we kind of crunch it down and it's a lot of information to get into 4 minutes, and you have to really break it down for the ear because you can't just blurt everything out, which we try to do sometimes. So that takes some time. And then we usually record for about an hour to get it's hard to imagine, but to get a 4-minute segment, we're just constantly revising the script, saying it differently, we're goofing around, we're talking about things that are not germane to the episode. So it takes us about an hour to record a script, and we might do 5 takes because we do like it to sound like they're just talking to each other, and that's actually kind of hard to do. So then it takes me another hour to go through all that tape and find the good stuff, find the best take, find where they're funny, and like put it in the right place. So even though it sounds like they're goofing around, it might be that they did that first and I just dragged it and put it in. So that's like secret. And then so then I edit it. That takes about an hour, and then just the preparing it to go on the air and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Is that intentional? I mean, it sounds like it's very intentional to have it be that conversational. I mean, I always feel like I'm out there hiking with them when I hear it, and like I'm just eavesdropping on their conversation.
Oh, I'm so glad you say that. Yes, it is absolutely intentional. Just because we really want it to be something wild, that it could be something that you go out in your backyard and participate in. And you go out there and you're like, oh, I never thought about how colorful the twigs are in springtime. And then you learn a little about it on Something Wild. Or, you see the otters playing in a pond and you're like, oh, I heard about this on Something Wild. So we do want it to be something that is just totally approachable.
I love that you mentioned the otter episode. Disclosure here, that was a big favorite in my house. My son is a big fan of otters. And you used some photographs from listeners in that one. Does that happen often? Or?
I would love for it to happen more often, because that's...
You guys hear that? She would love for that to happen more often. Send her your pictures.
Yeah, and we get a lot of bird pictures because there are a lot of birders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always fun. And Chris and Dave are in touch with folks who are doing that kind of thing. And, you know, occasionally we get photos at Something Wild at nhpr.org. And that's really fun. And then they also know some of the nature photographers who are professionals who are kind enough to let me use their work. So that is awesome. So we love to do that. I would much prefer to use a picture of something that we've actually seen rather than a stock photo of something.
Right.
But sometimes we just can't get around it.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of the tension with Chris and Dave, because the birds are somewhat more, you know, photogenic than the trees sometimes.
Sometimes. Depends on the season, I guess.
Yeah.
So I know it's the 25-year anniversary. They had their big 25-year episode last month, I believe it aired. And they mentioned a little bit that they were going to be revisiting some of their favorite episodes. Can you give us any sneak peeks that you can share?
Yes, it's been so fun going back through the archives. Really, really fun. And for both of them, their absolute number one favorite episode is coming up this week. And it's about the annual aerial woodcock display that's happening like right now, and about going out in nature and the rhythms of nature, and bringing your children along and having that be a touchstone as a family.
Oh, I love it.
They both get, you know, a little teary
Aww.
about that one. And then that's this week, so you don't want to miss it. And you can find that online also, always,
Yes.
or on our podcast. And if you miss it live, and then, or on the air. And then others that we're having coming up, they went to see peregrines on the Rumney Cliffs, and that was apparently very dramatic. So we're going to bring that one back. And then they also went and looked at turkey vulture chicks with Sam Evans Brown. So we're going to go dig that one up. So we've got lots of great episodes.
Oh, wonderful. It's so exciting. I can't wait to hear some of the oldies, you know, some that from before my time. So it'll be exciting. I have one more question for you. I think we all know where Chris and Dave stand on the tree versus bird debate. Do you want to weigh in, or do you want to stay neutral as the producer?
I'm not a birder.
Okay.
So I've learned a ton and learned to appreciate them, but I really like, I do appreciate the trees as well, and having something that's a little harder to appreciate. So.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your very busy schedule to chat with us.
I love talking about Something Wild.
I know, it's such a wonderful program, and I do just love the depth that it gives to all of the programming here at NHPR, that, you know, we look at everything around us, even what's in your own backyard. So
yes, that sense of place is really important.
Yes. Well, thank you, and
thank you.
To all our supporters, thank you so much for helping make this work possible. And be sure to check out online these favorite episodes that are going to be coming up. You can find them on nhpr.org. Thanks.
Thanks.